Hey guys, how are you? How are you holding up with the pandemic? Welcome back. Today I'll be doing speech for the Leaving Cert, how to write it, how to conduct one. It applies for both higher and ordinary level. So, first things first, a speech can come up in many sections in the Leaving Cert. So, if you think of single text, it can come up as a 30-point question, or in ordinary level, or as a 60-point, asking you, for instance, to be Hamlet and to conduct a speech as if you are, I don't know, one of the characters, for instance, Hamlet, as I just said, to the area or to the people or to your mother as Gertrude or whoever it is about a certain point. The most likely for a speech to come up would be in the composition part in paper 1 and or the 50-point comprehension part in paper 1 as well. It can come up in any form. Now the problem, well, I wouldn't want to call it a problem, but the tricky part with speech is that you have to figure out what type of language do you use, because speech varies in terms of the audience and who is listening to you. So if you are a student holding a speech to another student like around you, or I don't know, a talk or whatever it is, then your language doesn't have to be that formal. But if their parents are there too, then I guess it would be more formal. But what if you are holding a speech for the United Nations, for instance, or for some certain much more formal occasion? Then you have to be formal. So that is the first job when you see a question like that. At the end of this episode, if I may call it, I will go with you through a question. I'll share my screen and I'll show you how would I analyze that question and how would I approach it as a student. So you need to determine what type of language it is. So is it argumentative, persuasive? Are you being sympathetic? Do you want people to agree with you on a certain point? That I find to be the most recurring type of speech provided, speech question. Now, regarding the paragraph structure, it is very important that you base your answer, of course, in paragraphing, but the amount of paragraphs also varies on how many points is the question worth, right? So if it comes up as 100-point question in the in paper 1 composition, it's half the exam, so you need to write at least 1,000 words. I would say do not write under 6 or 7 paragraphs for that, including the introduction and the conclusion. I'll go through these individually in a very detailed manner. So, if it comes up as a 50-point question in comprehension, as a B part, to write a speech for a certain group of people, you would have to write, I would say, not less than 4 to 5, maybe even 6 paragraphs for this question. Anyway, each point you have to develop it in a paragraph separately. So for instance, if the question is about, I don't know, say global warming or any other point, or the importance of education, you have to, for instance, give 5 different importances and or I don't know, 5 different aspects of why education is important, and develop each one of them in a paragraph, in a separate paragraph. This is one way to divide your paragraphs. The structure matters so much, like how to start it and how to end it. Now, as I said, upon deciding and determining who is your audience and who are you delivering the speech to, you got to decide, how do I start this? Always start the speech, regardless of who is listening to you, by introducing yourself and greeting the audience using formal language. That is very important, because it grants you the marks for the beginning of the speech. So for instance, say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, my name is this and that. I would like to thank, I don't know, whoever it is who put you on stage, and your fellow classmates, your parents, the parents of your classmates, the administration, the financial office, the academic office, for making this an awesome year, blah, 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 all that chatty, stuff. With that, you nail the context of the speech, you do as they expect you to, and you reduce your word count. So it's a win-win. You should use facts and statistics, for instance, as well as quotations. Do not worry, none of these have to be correct. You can make them up. Nobody's gonna look for them. Nobody's gonna mark you down for not pointing out an exact quotation by, I don't know who, Barack Obama, or like, I don't know, Hillary Clinton, or any other, I don't know, whoever it is you want to quote. Nobody's going to look for that as long as you make it look real. All right, you have to be realistic in terms of quoting. Like, also facts, like you can say, in accordance to a Harvard University research conducted by students in 2013 on the importance of education, it has been found after testing, I don't know, whatever. So you make all this up and nobody's going to check after you. So this is important. Why? Because by doing this, you're convincing the audience to, or persuading them to follow what you think. All right, so it looks like you've done your research and all that, and I'm telling you, nobody is checking these facts and figures. However, you cannot be unrealistic in terms of providing your facts and figures or statistics or whatever it is that you're doing in your speech. So you cannot say, like, for instance, in accordance to a 2015 study done by Cambridge University, it has been found that 50% of people can fly. See, that you will lose points because it's unrealistic, and it's something that cannot be believed. So you have to be realistic in making things up. Ask rhetorical questions when speaking, when conducting your speech. The importance of rhetorical questions is that, first of all, it is one major quality of holding a speech, and second of all, it actually grabs the audience attention, because everybody's freaking out, like, I hope he's not going to asking me, I hope he's not asking me, I hope he's not going to ask me next, I don't know, whatever. So just ask rhetorical questions, or questions that you would give an answer to as well. These are rhetorical questions. For instance, I would do something like, let me ask the audience here a question. You guys probably don't know, or I would say something like, do you guys know how important it is to, and then you give the answer to that question as well. So that is important. Now, emotive language is very important, because you have to share your feelings, but don't overdo it. Don't be cringy. Show them how you feel to a certain extent. Sympathize with them if that is where the question leads you. Show them that you agree with them. Put yourself in their shoes, or make them put themselves in your shoes. And what about, like, try to use vivid imagery. What is vivid imagery? Like, make them imagine something. Tell a story. So in your speech, tell a story. Like, once when I was a kid, so I remember 10 years ago, I would have never stood here in front of you and conducted the speech that I'm doing today. I had a fear of public speaking, and because of my teacher who's sitting right here in front of us today, and then people will start clapping and stuff. But don't write that down. I mean, this is how you get, like, emotional, but not overdo it. This is also a part of vivid imagery is also a part of conducting a speech, as I just said, is because when you provide them to imagine something that has occurred, you make them live the moment with you, and hence you reward more marks. So an example of vivid imagery, you can say, guys, one of these days when you're sitting back home on a Sunday, and you don't feel like going out or doing anything. We call them lazy Sundays. You switch up the TV and you see your favorite show coming up, and you're sitting there with your family. So this is what I'm just doing. I mean, don't overdo it, but if you throw this like once or twice in a speech, this kind of like gives you points, because it is a technique called vivid imagery. Repeat your key points. So whatever it is you're arguing, whatever it is you want to prove, don't repeat it exactly the same, but repeat the points that you want to convey. So if you're arguing for, I don't know, if you're pro-abortion, then from time to time emphasize that you're pro-abortion. Do it indirectly. Do it in a different way. Restructure your sentence. Use different words. I don't know, whatever it is, but do not exactly copy paste what you wrote, because remember, you're not going to be telling this, you're going to be writing it down. So don't just copy the sentence. Say it in a different way. Emphasize on what your point is. Remind the why are you here. Remind them that you're arguing or you're persuading them to agree with you on something. Now, at the end of the speech, as I said, emphasize your key points once more. And I don't know, say something like, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you could see clearly that, and then just elaborate on your point. Or I have proven to you, or I have shown you, I have made it clear that in accordance to this and that, you guys should be doing. So like at the end, re-emphasize the point. As I said, the structure should be around 5 to 6 paragraphs if it's a 50 point, and around, I would say, not less than 6 or 7, even 8 for a 100 point question composition. Right, stay tuned because I'll be analyzing the question with you in a second. Hey guys, once again, so thank you very much for being here. So I'm looking at 2010 composition, composing part, higher level, question number 5. As you see, it says, but there's hopeful news as well. Here it says text 2. I always recommend that you read the text, but some students don't have the time to do so. So proceeding to answer the question without reading text 2 if you haven't already is also fine. But in case you have the time, I recommend that you read it. So you have been elected by your classmates to deliver a speech at your school's graduation ceremony. Great. So now I am one of the classmates, and I've been elected by them to deliver the speech at the graduation ceremony. This is very important, guys, because you need to analyze the question prior to starting it. You have to plan it out properly before you actually start writing. So write a text of the speech you would give. Encouraging, this is the key word, encouraging your audience to be optimistic about the future. This is a very nice question because it's very broad in terms of like directing your answer in any way will be possible. So I can encourage my audience to be optimistic about the future through various means, right? I could think of many things that I can talk about, like what awaits on the other side, university, work, job, marriage, whatever it is that you think is feasible, whatever is motivating for them. So you need language of encouragement, language of motivation, for instance. This is very important over here, right? So this is kind of formal because it is a graduation ceremony. I would think it's not too formal, but it's okay. Like, I wouldn't use too much slang here. I wouldn't crack jokes because the classmates' parents are also going to be there, I believe. So I think you're free to write the way you want to. Just don't overdo humor. I'm not a big fan of overdoing humor anyway. So I've prepared a little answer for this, the beginning for this. So like I would do something like this. Our esteemed principal, Mr. or Mrs., I don't know, whoever it is your principal is, our mothers, our fathers, and our guardians, fellow graduates, my dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, I cannot tell you how proud and nervous I am to be addressing you here this evening. So you're free to change this or alter this up the way you want. Of course, you're free to take this introduction and use it to your own favors. I want to thank my classmates for electing me to share some thought. As you see here, I'm thanking the audience for allowing me to be here. I'm also naming the people that I stand in front of or before. So, I want to thank my classmates for electing me to share some thoughts with you on this graduation night. It is certainly a great honor for me to speak on behalf of all the leaving certificate student at, and then you can just name the school of your own, and then the class of 2010. This will change in the future, of course, to say the least. Now, let me begin with a brief introduction. My name is now here, despite the fact that most of the classmates know your name, or some of them know your name. The parents, some of them or most of them wouldn't know your name. So it's very important to introduce yourself and say who you are. Also, what do you do? What did you graduate as? Like, what do you like? What's your major? Whatever applies in this sense. As you see, this introduction is exactly 81 words in total. So if this was a 50 point, I'm already almost 1/5 of the question, the answer done. So it's very important to actually have a really nice and really well structured introduction and the entire speech essay as well. So basically, guys, this is everything that you need to know about writing a speech. In case there's anything that you guys want me to clarify that I haven't already, or I missed, or maybe something is unclear, please leave a comment down below and I'll be more than happy to assist you with whatever you need. Thank you guys for being here, and see you next time.